Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I am Marlene DeRosso, of course, your Women Matter Maven. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to record an episode today that talked about protecting your peace, right? So much has been being said nowadays as it relates to protecting your peace. And I said, you know what? Let me dig into this a little bit and just have kind of like a conversation with everybody and see if I can get your thoughts on what protecting your peace actually means. How do you go about protecting your peace? Why should we protect our peace? Different things of that nature, because that phrase is something that has been coined so much lately. And I really want to try to dig into that and give you guys a little bit of insight or share my insight with it. And then we can kind of, go back and forth from there. So I hope everybody is doing well, and let's just jump right into it. In this day and age where so much is going on, I know a lot of the times whenever we're consuming all this content or we're dealing with real things that are going on in life, we turn on the TV, there's issues. You turn on the news, there's issues. And a lot of these issues aren't necessarily, good issues, right? Some people are dealing with some very, very difficult things in life. And it's important that we try to give them grace and figure out a way to see how we can make our lives a little better or change our perspective and our outlook on life in hopes of making the world a better place, maybe for other people or for our children, just being a little bit more self-aware as it relates to everything else that's going on that's not so positive that we're seeing. And it's important to do that because in my case, looking at, bad news on the news or hearing about unfortunate things that are happening to other people, it really does disturb my peace. And to me, peace in this particular scenario is, the inner workings of the essence of you. So your peace is like you want to be able to be grounded. You want to be able to have sound mind so that you're able to think clearly and make good decisions or do the right thing in life. And when your peace is disturbed, I think it kind of just throws you all the way off, and you're unable to function in a manner that's conducive to healthy living or peaceful living, right? So let's just jump right into it and talk about it a little bit. Again, a lot of people are talking about protecting your peace, protecting your peace. And I used to consume the content, especially during this year, and just kind of took the phrase for what it meant, meaning protecting my peace, meaning everything that is around me, within me, of me, I would like to see it be good. And the more and more I heard it, I said, okay, let's dig into this a little more. So to give a little context of how I want to approach, this topic, we can break it down to where let's talk about protecting your peace at work. Work is something that's very, very tricky for a lot of people. With the economy that we're dealing with right now, we're all blessed and lucky, to have jobs. I feel that even in some of the industries where at one point we just always thought there would be work, that doesn't seem to be the case. Or if there is work, we always thought the work would be a certain way, and that is definitely not the case now. So for instance, you're dealing with, let's say, the healthcare field. I work in the healthcare field, in the geriatric side with nursing home, residents and patients. I have family members who work in the healthcare field as direct patient care staff, nurses, therapists, doctors, things of that nature. And the whole industry and the whole experience has totally, totally changed. So it's hard to have your peace protected when you're walking into an environment that sometimes you're just hearing about horrible situations or you've experienced them yourself, whether it's from direct interaction with the patient or you yourself being a patient that has to be hospitalized or go and get care. The family members of the patients, the loved ones, they can disturb your peace. All of the red tape, so to speak. Sometimes it's not even about the situation, it's the administration. right? Or it is the insurance company. It is the staff that you're working with, your supposed coworkers. So we can talk a little bit about protecting your peace at work when a lot of what's disturbing your peace is out of your control. And whether we like it or not, or whether we want to or not, work is something that is ingrained in us, and it takes up a lot of our day. Most of our day we spend with our staff or coworkers and administrators and things of that nature. So it's very, very important to have that sense of, peace when you're working, meaning although maybe everyone might not get along, but you respect each other, right? Although we might not get good news all the time, but we know that there's community in our workspace or work environment, that we're all in it together and not alone. That feeling of community and camaraderie, that's a part of protecting your peace. So it's very, very difficult when you're in a situation where not only are you tasked with trying to get either these unrealistic deadlines met, or the deadline may be realistic to meet, but the help that you need to get it done is not there, or it's not adequate help. A lot of people, I know a lot of my friends and even myself at my line of work, we're short staffed. So how do you protect your peace when you're trying to stay calm and trying to do what you know is best, but you don't have enough hands on deck, to help you? So those are just some of the examples as it relates to work, on ways that our peace is being disturbed or disrupted. And I want to talk a little bit about how we can just kind of work with it or work past that to be able to still have a sense of calm and peace and accomplishment in spite of dealing with this day in and day out. And I have to preface this by saying, because we spend so much time each day at work, that gets magnified by the fact that you have to work almost every day, because 2 days off, in my opinion, is not enough, right? So it's a lot. And even if so my first approach, my first answer would be to take each day as it comes, and not think about already stressing out about what's to come and the rest of the days of the week. Outside of planning your weekday or your work day, your work week, outside of planning for certain deadlines that just have to be met, or certain reports that have to get done, or things that just need to happen, don't think too far ahead outside of just, okay, I'm in here, it's Monday morning, let's go and tackle Monday, let's see what we can get done. What's on our agenda for Monday? How are we going to get it done? What resources or help or things that we need to help get it done? You help plan all of that out. And then at that point, once Monday's done, Monday's gone, you move over to Tuesday, and you kind of do it like that as each day goes along. And that's one way of helping protect your peace as it relates to work, by taking everything, one day at a time. And when it comes to coworkers or staff members that you have that are either non-responsive, because you have some people that literally go to work just to collect a paycheck. I hear these stories all the time. Thank goodness my staff is fantastic. I no comment. Okay, that's not our issue. We have to deal with other people that we rely on to get us our work, but at least within ourselves, we have a really tight-knit community in my office, and it really makes the work day bearable to get through, because we are dealing with a lot, but knowing that we're all in it together and we're not letting each other hang out there to dry alone, that really is helping, right? So if you do have the situation where you're not getting the support and resources you need from the staff or administration to help get your work done, we have to figure out a way to take that to upper management and voice your concerns, right? You voice concerns in a way that not only are you just complaining or letting it be known the issues that you have, also come up with some suggestions to management and your other coworkers or your staff on how they can help improve it or make it better, until it gets to the point where you're able to add that extra person or get the additional help that you need. And another thing that's important when it comes to dealing with people is the only person we can control is ourselves. And I know we hear that all the time, but it's true. So in the event that you've communicated, you've voiced your opinion, you've let people know how you feel and why you feel like that, and how they're able to help the situation. If they're not willing to make it better, then you have a decision to make, right? So it's really important to try to just accept things as they are and do what you can in the meantime to help alleviate or make it better. But once you know you've done what you can, you just can move forward from there, right? There's not much else you can do outside of removing yourself altogether from the workplace. Now, then if you're going to make that decision, the question becomes, how and when are you able to do that, right? And are you able to do it? Meaning, can your financial situation take that hit if you decide to leave and not have another position in place, right, to replace your income? Or, you just start making plans to change your workplace, but you do that while you're still working. I would never, outside of your physical and mental health being really, really detrimentally affected by a workplace, you don't leave your job without having something else lined up, right? I'll just leave it as that. But at that point, you have a decision to make. So that's how I would protect my peace. And at work too, I try to use my lunch or break time. It's not a specific time every day, because every day sometimes you meet different challenges, but I try to use that time to get away from being in a work headspace. Although, yes, I'm at work, but I take my time, I eat my food. I try not to eat at my desk, meaning eat, take a spoon and, or a fork, take a bite, eat and work. No, even if you're in your office or whatever, you try to focus on that, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, whatever time your lunch is, to really disconnect and protect your energy, rebuild yourself. If you're taking lunch midday, you kind of, have that nice break in the middle, and knowing that you have only, the rest of the day left after you've taken a little bit time out for yourself, right? So that's how I look at protecting your peace as it relates to the workplace. And protecting your peace when it comes to interactions with other humans, not in the workplace, meaning friendships, your family, your spouse, things of that nature. I'm going to couple all of those together, even though the dynamics of different relationships are indeed different, but I'm just going to segment it as it relates to relationships. Sometimes you'll find where, you have to protect your peace from certain people when, you may not want to be on the phone that day, right? So texting may be more conducive for you that day, because for whatever reason, and you get to decide, it's your life. No one can tell you, hey, you have to call me, or hey, you have to talk to me, or hey, you have to respond to my text. Absolutely not. Okay. And you have to be able to do that and recognize that without feeling guilty or, being forced into doing it. Now, obviously, we all have certain relationships and certain people or communications that have to happen. Like if your children are calling you, an elderly parent is calling you, a sibling needs something, whatever it is, I'm going to leave that to your judgment based on what you feel are important calls that you need to answer or take or respond to. So with that being said, it's important that if you don't feel like, engaging in a conversation because the person on the other end of that conversation, whether it be via text or phone, is someone who you feel is not positive, right? Or whenever they call, it's about really nothing serious. They just need somebody to bounce, their issues on. And sometimes we can't take that on a lot of the times because everybody has their own issues. So if you're not in a mental capacity to engage in a conversation to either provide support to that person or advice or just a listening ear, I think it's better that you don't engage at all and you don't participate in a conversation. Or sometimes you'll answer the phone and the conversation starts off one way, but then slowly but surely you start delving into another type of conversation that you're either not mentally prepared for or care to hear. It's okay to figure out a way to get off the phone, depending on the dynamic of the person, the dynamic of the relationship with the person you have. Some people you can be straightforward with, like, you know what, I can't handle this right now. We're going to have to table this and revisit it another time. Other people, if you feel their feelings may be hurt or whatever the case may be, you figure out a way to get off of the line. How you do that is up to you. I'm not going to, tell you to lie or anything like that, but protecting your peace in that case means, because if you don't protect your peace and you're trying to appease this person, or you're trying to just be there for them, but mentally and physically, psychologically, you don't have the capability to do it at that moment, it might not be good, because you might end up lashing out and saying something to them that you may regret, or you may end up hurting their feelings, right? Versus if you just figured out another way to get off of the line. And when people love and care about you, they'll understand that right now I'm just not in the position to engage, right? So it's really, really important. And I say that because there are people who have daily conversations with certain people in their lives, right? And sometimes you're just not up for it. And protecting your peace in that respect doesn't mean I'm protecting my peace, so you need to get off the line because you talk about the same thing every day, or you're not saying anything, and I don't have time for that. Everything is in your delivery. Everything is in your delivery. And I've learned that since a little girl. You get more bees with honey instead of trying to, attack people. So you just be honest and open with your communication, and you deliver it in a manner that you know will work for the person, because you are the one that has that relationship with them. And then you keep it moving, from there. Another way in terms of protecting your peace, at least what it means to me, is if you're having a discussion or a conversation with your significant other, and something happens that maybe you're not happy about, and you want to, lash out, or express how you feel, or they're telling you something or made a decision, behind your back that you feel you should have been privy to or part of in terms of the decision making, it's important to protect your peace in the sense of definitely communicate and let people know how you feel. Okay, I've learned, it's been a while. I'm still growing and I'm still learning, but I've learned that it doesn't do anyone any good when you're holding in how you truly feel, because then you can't hold someone accountable or responsible for hurting you, or not taking care of you, or not being, not being mindful of what they're doing to you if you never tell them. And this was hard for me, because I would always say things like, okay, well, they should know, or how could they not tell, or they should know better. I know I repeated that, but that's a lot of the things that, especially women, we tell ourselves when you're dealing with someone else, whether it's a good friend or your husband, boyfriend, and you're like, well, they should know. And I had to learn, and my therapist has helped me with that, as recent as, this year. You can't assume that everyone knows. You can't assume, without communicating or letting people know how you feel, why you feel like that, what is it that you need, what is it that you want. You have to communicate, and everything is in your delivery. And I remember as a young girl, I had to learn about the delivery part, because I'm very emotional. I would cry at the drop of a dime. And oftentimes I would cry, not necessarily because I was sad or did anything wrong. I just felt, angry, or I felt that I wasn't being heard, or I felt that what I was saying, they were hearing me, but they're not understanding where I'm coming from. So it would just, present itself in the form of just like tears, and I'm, emotional, and I'm loud and crying, and everybody just sits and does this, like, oh boy, here goes Marlene again, being rude and loud and being a crybaby. And I'm like, no. And at that point, you get even more frustrated, and my peace is even more disturbed because on top of me being unhappy about what it is that's going on, no one's listening, right? And even if I tried to say something, I grew up in a household where, with our culture, there's a lot of hierarchy going on, okay? And even till this day, you're older, I'm younger. You're the man, I'm the woman. You're the boss, I'm not. Like, there's a lot of that, right? I'm the parent, you're not. Whatever. There's a lot of hierarchy. And I think a lot of Caribbean and West Indian families deal with that. So we've had to navigate the different, segments of trying to protect our peace, because we get this from so many different relationships as it relates to, taking it from your childhood and bringing that into, your life as an adult. And I always felt that, I wasn't able to express myself, because although I was right, or I felt I was right and later would be proven right, because I was younger, or because I was the sister, or because I was whatever, it didn't matter, because if I spoke out, then I'm being disrespectful to the hierarchy. I'm being disrespectful to the eldest child, the older child, the brother, the this, the that. So it was very, very hard for me. And I always took that very hard. And that's when I would cry and, do all of that stuff because I just didn't feel like I was being heard. But as I, grew, it continued to evolve, and as I've gotten older, I've learned, like, okay, it's okay to express how you feel without having all this emotion behind it. Because another thing that happened when I would, explode like that, or cry, or be loud, and the attempt of trying to be heard, people discount you, and all they see is your behavior, and all they, relish it down to is your behavior, not your intention, not you have a point, not you're absolutely right. It's your behavior. And when your behavior is out of pocket, people deem you and label you as a disrespectful or loud or emotional or crybaby or someone to not pay attention to, because we have no self-control. Okay. So I had to learn that protecting my peace now, as I'm getting older, involves speaking up for myself, and doing so in a calm and clear manner, so that everyone's on the same page. And if I sense that I'm communicating how I feel and the person is not understanding, I don't lose patience. I don't, and when I say not understanding, I mean, you can say something, but they're not getting the intent from what I'm trying to explain. That's different than people choosing to deliberately not care and not understand. And you can tell when that happens. And when that happens, the way I protect my peace is I say, okay, we're tabling this conversation. We'll revisit it at another time when you're more open to trying to comprehend and understand what I'm saying, right? Because I see that you hear me, but you're not comprehending and understanding. And I'm not. And sometimes if that person isn't in their mindset to really get it, it's not going to work. You're just going to keep going back and forth, and now your peace is even more disturbed, right? So I tried to explain myself, and because I back in the day I used to have an issue with repeating myself too, because I felt like, okay, well, if I said it and I got it, why don't you get it? I used to I used to feel like that too, because I got it. Okay, so what's the problem? Why, right? So I've learned to be patient, and sometimes it's not that people don't get it, they just don't understand it how you meant for it to come across. So I take my time in explaining to make sure that, okay, we're on the same page. And at the same time, if someone feels that I've done something to them, I don't immediately respond to be defensive or to defend myself. I try to listen. If there's a point that I'm confused or don't understand, I ask them to please, repeat it. My teddy bear fell. I asked them to please repeat it to make sure I get it, because it's not, especially if it wasn't my intention to hurt the person or do something that they didn't like, right? So I want to make sure that I understand and that is explained to me, to make sure, one, I don't repeat the same thing again, and that I know how to treat them in certain instances, which will cause their peace to be not disturbed and intact. Because it's not my mission in life to cause other people any heartache and pain, right? Especially if I can control it. So to me, that's what it is when it comes to protecting my peace. And another thing that I want to talk about real briefly in terms of protecting our peace before I end this episode is, the content that we consume, whether it's the news, whether it's other, YouTube content, items on Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And I say TikTok because sometimes, although you don't have not TikTok. Although, like for instance, in my case, I don't have TikTok, but people who do have TikTok may share their content onto YouTube or Instagram and things like that. So there's a lot of content being, shared, and it's hard because sometimes it becomes so overwhelming, and to the point where you don't really know what's valid, what's not. Out of all of this, what should I keep as good information? What should I spit out and disregard? So a way to protect your peace is sometimes we just have to be to ourselves, find a good book to read, right? Something that doesn't involve visual stimulation with all of the colors and the screens and the lights and things like that. And all of the short form and long form content can be a lot. So it's important to protect your peace and minimize the amount of content that we're consuming on a daily and weekly basis, because it's a lot. And sometimes I find myself where I say, okay, I don't want to necessarily, like for instance, I've been looking for videos that talk about a particular, walkie-talkie type app. So I'll put that in my search engine, whether it's in Google or on the YouTube. And of course, when you do that, you return multiple options. And in doing that, one video leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next. And it's so much overconsumption that me thinking I was going to find one simple answer ends up not being that way at all. So to protect my peace, I have to say, okay, I have to stop this search. It's too much. And that's it. I just have to stop it and not feel bad about not being able to have gotten my answer in that sitting. Because sometimes it takes a little bit for you to do your research and not get too overconsumed, because that basically negates what it is that you were trying to do in the first place. So I'm into reading my books more. I have a couple books that I'm trying to get through now. I need to get a side light for my what are those tables next to your bed? The nightstand. I need to get like a little night light for my nightstand, because it's better to read in full light, at least focused on the words. But at least it's a dim light focused right on it. So I'm trying to get into my books more. And sometimes I find myself, and that's when I know my peace is disturbed, where I can't turn it off. So I'll put the search results away, right, for that particular app that I'm doing research for. But then I have Netflix on, but it's just noise in the back. But then I'm trying to listen to what's going on in the episode of Netflix, but then I'm also trying to review the results that I got. That's just too much. So, that's one example. Another example of protecting your peace and sometimes taking a step away from all this content is like what's going on right now with the political stuff, right? Sometimes my husband and I will listen to all the different channels, and we try to do that only twice a week, because certain days we come home, we're just exhausted and we're old and we just get into bed and just lay there. Okay. But I say that to say we try to listen to maybe 2 or 3 nights a week. We listen to the different takes on everything, right? We'll watch, Trump content from Fox, what they have to say on MSNBC, what they're saying on CNN. Then we'll switch and watch a different type of show, or, from Anderson Cooper or something on CNN and what his show has to say, or then we'll turn around and watch the local news, and then the local news gives us a sense of panic too, because watching the local news, it's like it hits home. So sometimes some of the things that they're talking about as it relates to politics and how it affects what's going on in our own backyard gets a little bit tricky. So then our peace is disturbed, right? Because what if they pass this? That means this for our children, or that means this for me, or what about my parents? So we're just like, it's too much consumption going on, right? And then the other thing about the local news, which we try to protect our peace and not watch too much of, at least maybe 2 times a week, just so you know what's going on, because oftentimes things are going on in your surrounding. And if you don't watch the news, it's hard. You don't know, who you're walking next to, the next serial killer in the grocery store. And we don't know. And that's another fear of mine. So I try to make sure my peace is protected by knowing. Knowledge for me means my peace is protected, right? That's in that aspect. But that stuff is hard, because you'll hear stories about these innocent babies, and there's one boy left school and walked the wrong way. He was 2 miles away somewhere else. Some nice neighbors happened to see him on Channel 6, and he happened to be outside at that moment trying to do something to his lawn. And he goes, "Hey, they're looking for you." Found the boy, but just the thought of, and even then that guy and the police officer said, "Thank goodness, this was somebody who found him that had good intention." So we have children too. So I'm at the stage where it's like, do I allow my kids to walk home 1 mile from the bus? Like, it's scary. So our peace is disturbed as it relates to watching the local news, because that type of stuff hits home. So I say that to say I can confidently, talk to you out here today about this, because it's something that trying to protect your peace means finding unison, finding calm, finding contentment, and finding stability in your internal being, so that the essence of you isn't disrupted to the point where you're just all over the place and can get nothing done. And when I say get nothing done, even sleep. Because when your peace is not protected, you can't sleep. And being sleep deprived is a whole nother issue, and it's a whole nother path that you don't want to go down that trajectory, because it just messes up us as humans. We were made to sleep in order to live, right? So protecting your peace allows you to know that, hey, in this situation, I've done everything I can. I've communicated effectively. I've expressed how I felt. I'm not holding things in, because you hold things in and your peace is disturbed because you're just unsettled, right? And you just know that you've done your part, and you have to take breaks away from stuff that doesn't protect your peace, right? People that keep annoying you, or people that get on the phone and only want to talk about themselves and never ask you how you are. People that call you and just want to complain. People that never call, and then when they call, it's because they need something. So instantly you look at your phone or your text, and this happens even to people at my job, and it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to them in like months, and then now it's. So all of that is stuff that, and just be more mindful and self-aware of what causes you to go, and then you'll start to slowly but surely check off, okay, knowing this doesn't help me feel good. Experiencing this kind of makes me feel away. Hearing this type of content. So you want to try to keep a diary or a log of different things that changes the internal balance that you have within yourself. And that's when you'll start to identify what disturbs your peace, so that you can work on protecting your peace. So that's it for now. As it relates to protecting your peace, I'm trying to take my own advice and doing the same thing. So it's really helping me with sharing this content and delivering it in a manner that hopefully is relatable to the viewers out there. So thank you so much, and stay tuned. Please subscribe to the channel, like and comment below, share it if you need to share it with someone that you think can benefit from ways that they can protect their peace, and maybe share their experience as well. And at any point you need to reach me and discuss more about, overcoming any obstacles that you're dealing with, and trying to find ways to get over those humps so that you can go on and continue to achieve your goals. Because if your inner peace is disrupted, you won't be able to achieve any goals that you set for yourself either. You can do so by reaching out to me, and I'd love to work with you. www.mcdve.com. Again, this is Marlene DeRosa, and stay tuned for the next video.